All right, welcome back. We will continue. So where were we? We had chapter 1 with the Wood Elf Queen having visions. We covered the wizard from afar. We introduced him. We introduced the brothers, the Catling brothers. We introduced Aaron of Jakar, the one who lost all, and we introduced Yervan, the one who regrets all. So the only path left in her vision also, you will notice, this follows the structure of her talking to the wind. Basically, the fifth and last path is the companionship of truth, a quest for glory. So it will be a bit longer than the previous chapter, but let's jump right in. Chapter 4, Alliance in the Night. A quest for glory, the companionship of truth. Illyria's moon hung bright above Forage, casting pale silver across rooftops and forest edge alike. Stars crowded the sky, sharp and watchful. Inside the Cristana Inn, warmth and music drowned the night. Hugrim's Stormhammer passed just inside the doorway. Firelight sliding over rune-etched armor and settling on his braided beard. Scars lined in face, one eye still darkened from an old wound, but his stance was unbroken, solid, deliberate, unmistakably dwarven. His skin was the color of pale leather, left too long in mountain wind, thick and weathered, cracked in places by age and smoke. For a moment he watched the Galanian dancers move in slow, graceful arcs beneath lantern light, then shook himself free of it and made his way toward the bar. Oh, he was watching these two Galanian girls dancing. And this is the Forage city. I mean, yeah. So he approached the bar. That's where we stopped. Pardon me, he said to the waitress, voice careful and polite. I'm looking for a man named Conrad of Nilven. She blinked, surprised by the manners, then leaned forward with a smile and pointed toward a shadow table near the wall. Over there. Thank you, dear, Hagrim said, cheeks coloring faintly. One of the figures at the table rose as Hagrim approached. Human, lean and solid, wrapped in scarred leathers and a weather-darkened cloak. His hair was cut short and uneven, as if done with a blade instead of care, and stubble framed a face marked by old fatigue rather than age. A sword rested across his back, worn in the way only long roads and hard fights could manage. His green eyes lifted, sharp, steady, assessing. Hagrim Stormhammer, Hagrim Stormhammer, the man said, son of Agrim Stormhammer. They clasped forearms. Hands, forearms. No, forearms would be. No, hands. They clasped hands. Yes. Then you must be Conrad of Nilven, Hagrim replied. A pleasure. This is the two of them. These are Urkan and Miriel, Conrad added. Urkan was broad and heavy set beneath scarred leather and fur. His shaved head and short beard framed a hard, weathered face. Two short tusks marked his orc blood. An axe rested on his shoulder, and his steady gaze carried the quiet certainty of someone made to stand in front of danger. Hagrim's hand moved on instinct, fingers brushing the hilt of his warhammer. Urkan noticed immediately. I'm a hork, he said evenly. Half human, half orc. Lower your hand. This is Urkan. Hagrim hesitated, then glanced up at Urkan's face. His eyes, human, steady, tired, met his. I, Hagrim muttered, releasing his grip. Apologies. Old habits die hard. They usually do, Urkan replied, already taking his seat. I've learned not to take it personally. Myrrel, a dark elf huntress, her ash-toned skin color and silver hair framing sharp, angular features, stared at Hagrim. Her pointed ears are pinned back in restrained fury, eyes burning with cold intent. Lean leather armor follows a very lethal build, a quarry riding her shoulder. Every line of her body shaped for precision, not mercy. She did not extend a hand. She studied Hagrim in silence, head tilted slightly. You're far too polite for a dwarf, she said at last. I don't trust you. Hagrim snorted softly. Fair enough. But my mother taught me manners before forging was fighting. Said steel without restraint was just another kind of monster. Muriel's eyes narrowed, not in anger, but consideration. Sit, she said flatly. You're drawing attention. Hagrim obeyed. We contacted we contacted you for your skill, Conrad said, both with steel and forge. Hagrim shifted his chair. I know better fighters than myself. Urkan shook his head. Not many who can reforge shattered relic steel in the field. Fewer who faced a worm and lived. I didn't do that alone, Hagrim muttered. No, Conrad agreed. But you trapped its tail and split its skull. That part was yours. Hagrim rubbed the back of his neck, clearly uncomfortable with the attention. Before he could reply, a woman approached, scroll slung over one shoulder, staff in hand, a thick spellbook tucked beneath her arm. Nirella stood with quiet composure, pale skin catching the soft light, her blonde hair tied back in a practical knot. Clear brown eyes studied the room with calm focus, a closed book held against her chest. There was nothing ornamental about her, just ready resolve, scholar's hands, and the faint tension of someone who had learned to stay alert even in stillness. Conrad, she said sweetly, if I crossed half of Ervenfell for nothing, I will personally turn you into a Grunfrog. Hagrim smiled at that comment. And when you read page 767 of this book, you will see the lore for Grunfrog. It will say that dwarves use that's a derogatory term for halflings that the dwarves use. They also call these frogs drunken halflings. That's why he's smiling. But it only makes sense if you actually look up why. Nirella, Conrad smiled. Always a pleasure. She dropped into a chair, adjusted her glasses, and only then noticed Hagrim. Stormhammer? She said, peering at him over a rim of her glass. Hagrim blinked. Aye, that's my name. She studied his face for a moment longer. Your father saved my life once. Wait a second. This is not him. This is her studying his face. Yeah, she studied his face for a moment longer. Your father saved my life once. The resemblance between him and you is eerie. Hagrim shifted slightly, caught off guard. I wonder why does it keep doing this? Oh. Hagrim shifted slightly, caught off guard. I get that a lot. How do you know him? Brookpack near Ruby Hill. My staff cracked at precisely the wrong moment. Hagrid gave a slow nod. Then you were fortunate. My father had a habit of arriving exactly where he was needed. That's Nirella. She allowed herself a faint smile. Her gaze returned to Conrad. All right, I'm here. Why? Conrad lifted his cup, then set it back down untouched. Not yet, he said. We're waiting for one more. Nirella frowned. One more. The music swelled, laughter rose from nearby tables. Urkan's shoulders tightened. Mirel's gaze shifted, not to the room but to the narrow space between the tables. Hagrid felt it a heartbeat later. The old dwarven instinct, someone close enough to hurt you. A dagger struck the table with a sharp crack, burying itself between the cups. I was starting to think you'd begun without me, a voice said from below eye level. That would have stung. That would have stung. A ginger-haired halfling with a round, freckled face and bright, restless eyes. Barely reaching a human's chest in height, he carried himself with quick hands and a quicker smile. Red curls forever refusing to lie flat. He plucked the dagger free and rolled it across his knuckles. Relax, people, he said. If I wanted blood, you'd be leaking. Gerbert's shiving stab, I presume. Quite an entrance you got there, my friend. This needs a comma. My friend, said Conrad, looking at the dagger with which Gerbert kept circling around his hand. Cut the crap, Conrad. We aren't friends. I've been listening to you people since the fat dwarf came in. Just tell me if you got the gold to, shall we say, provide for my services to Ervenfell in this grand quest, said Gerbert with a smirk as he pointed the dagger toward Conrad. Yes, I do, said Conrad in a calm tone. That is all I need to hear. Now start talking. Where are we off looting? Asked Gerbert with one raised eyebrow. We are not looting anything. We just need someone to open doors and maybe get some information undetected, if needed, said Conrad while looking carefully around in hopes that no one hears why they called for the services of a thief. Sure, whatever makes you sleep at night, pal. Urkan's hand tightened on his axe. Easy oversized shoulders, Gerbert added. I'm here for the gold. Urkan released his axe. Of course you are. Then what exactly is this all about? Let's see, this is missing. Asked Gerbert while he was taking a seat. And just a sec, sorry, I need to add this. And Gerbert noticed. That's why he's commenting, right? Urkan's hand tightened on his axe and Gerbert noticed. Easy oversized shoulder, yeah. Okay, that's good. Of course you are. Then what exactly is all of this about? Asked Gerbert while he was taking a seat. He leaned back in his chair, putting his crossed feet on the table. Talk. Urkan pushed Gerbert's feet down from the table and folded his arms. Illyrians are few, he said. They don't march armies, they don't rule cities. When something threatens the balance of Ervenfell, they send hands instead. Hands, Gerbert echoed. People like us, Conrad said. We follow disturbances, forbidden magic, relics that should stay buried, abominations that should stay sealed. Myrrell finally looked at Gerbert. We mostly do reports. It is rare, but sometimes situations go out of hand. When we can contain it ourselves, we do, she said quietly. And when you can't? Gerbert asked. Her eyes were flat. Then we hire others. The Gerbert studied the table differently now. So, you are hiring us to be some moronic heroes? No, Conrad said. Let me be frank. You are being hired because your locks don't open themselves. Gerbert clicked his tongue. Now that's better. All right, he said. Something rattled you enough to hire a thief. What is it? Siemens, Orkan said. Gerbert whistled. That's a big word to drop casually. And one in particular, Miral added. A deserter. Azaezur. Gerber leaned forward. Oh, I've seen a bounty on that one. Not why we're here, Conrad said. Gerbert clicked his tongue again. Shame. There's something else, Miral said, her gaze unfocused. Not a presence, a weight. Like the world leaning the wrong way. Nirala nodded. I felt it on the road. Magic doesn't set properly anymore. Conrad folded his hands on the table. For a long time now, we've been doing what we were trained to do, he said quietly, listening, watching, following whispers from town to town. Urkan's jaw tightened, and sending reports back to Illyria that mostly end with insufficient confirmation. Miriel inclined her head. Broken wards in the south, sorceress residue where none should exist. Where none should be. Sounds better, right? I think it sounds better. Sorceress residue where none should be. Every thread fades before it becomes proof. Gerber leaned back in his chair. So, you're professional guessers. Urkan shot him a glare. Careful, short one. Gerbert smirked. Short one. Ha! How original, pig face. And careful with that. And careful with what? Your little piggy feelings? How would you like for Pigface to break all of your tiny bones? Asked Urkan as he stood towering over Gerbert. Conrad slammed the table with his fists. Enough. We have work to do. Hagrim noticed an albinelf in the back of the tavern, staring at him ominously. He's looking at Jörvan from the previous chapter. His gut tightened, though he couldn't say why. He shifted his seat, redirecting his stare at Conrad. Yes, continue, please. Conrad exhaled. Now the signs are stacking too closely to ignore. Miral's voice was low. Azazel is hiding somewhere in the Dark Elf region. He has stolen gold and artifacts from his homeland of Zema. Judging by the artifacts he took, I fear he is trying to release abominations, sealed by powerful spell swords centuries ago. Well, this is a group of people, so maybe a big letter fits more. Sealed by powerful spell swords, yeah. Urkan closed in on himself, tusk barely visible beneath his beard. Not just that. He doesn't. Does Urkan have a beard? No, he does not have a beard, right? He does have a small beard. Okay, let's leave it. Not just that, there are several outposts all across Ervenfell that cursed Zeman is breeding an army. This needs to be a bit different. This needs to end here. There are several outposts all across Ervenfell. That cursed Zeman is breeding an army with Akuba. If we don't do something, it will be our end. Gerbert scoffed. You have a taste for drama. The creepy dark elf swamp wench too. Miril's gaze sharpened. Say that again, half-wit. Urkan leaned forward, tusks grinding sharp. Tusked grin sharp. My God. You ever seen what Siemens leave behind, halfling? Gerbert met his stare, ignoring Miril. I've seen enough to know I don't volunteer for heroics. Urkan snorted. That's because you survive by crawling through, hiding and sneaking like a rat. That's because you survive by crawling, hiding, my God, hiding and sneaking like a rat. Gerbert smiled thinly. At least I live. Guys like you are morons that die playing hero. Urkan leaned forward. Why would I ever bother? Try. Why am. Why am I even trying to explain honor to a coward? It sounds better than what I've written previously, I think. Why am I even trying to explain honor to a coward? Urkan's chair scrapped as he leaned back. Are you two done? Asked Conrad, staring at them. Conrad met Urkan's eyes first, then Gerbert. We're done, Urkan said. Silence followed, and Conrad continued. Beside the danger of abominations being released and an army being bred, there is also something unsettling that I heard. Two Inzirians were spotted in the Dark Elf region. Nirella leaned forward. Inzirians? Impossible. Huh? What's that? Asked Gerbert, confused. Nirella turned toward Gerbert as passion for knowledge overtook her. They are the fools that went to war with gods. No one saw one of them in a millennia. In millennia. Multiple millennia, yeah. Better than a millennia. She said, shaking Gerbert with both hands. All right, relax, sugar lips, said Gerber, shaking her off. I would not be so enthusiastic about them, Nirella. Nothing good ever came from Inzerians, added Conrad. Oh, I know, sweetie, but there's such a mystery. Anyway, Conrad brushed her off. We move in the morning, Conrad said. South Road, Morganville first, then Oakenfell. We follow the trails we can, confirm what's real, find the truth. Confirm what's real and what's not. Or no. Better to leave truth because they will come up with the name now. Hagrim, here's all of them. Hagrim rested a hand against the haft of his hammer. I'm no scholar of omens, he said slowly, but I've spent my life shaping metal and breaking monsters. His finger tightened around the grip. And I've learned this much. When blades start moving in the dark and folk start disappearing, something rotten is unbound. He lifted his eye to Conrad. I trust you. He gave a short nod. I'll stand with you, hammer and anvil. Conrad inclined his head. Gerbert sighed loudly. Fine. But if this gets me killed, I'm haunting you all. Keep talking. Urkan snorted. You'd need courage for that too. Keep talking, Tusks. Gonna hunt you especially. Nirella arched a brow. So, what do we call this growing collection of poor life choices? Hagrid thought for a moment. The companionship of truth, he said quietly. The world settled over the table. Myrtle nodded once. Yes, said Orkan in a rather calm tone. Conrad allowed himself a smile. Gerbert grimaced. The gold gatherer sounds better. He turned back. He leaned back. Truth won't put coin in my pocket. Orkan laughed, barked a laugh. Only thing you worship is shiny metal. Gold is gold, pure, real. Heroics don't feed you, coin does. Nirala rose slowly, visibly annoyed, maybe. Yeah. Visibly annoyed. Visibly annoyed. Gerbert noticed too late. She stood up and leaned over Gerbert. Gerbert, she said pleasantly. He looked up. What? You've questioned the mission, insulted everyone here, and reduced something serious to a joke about coin. Gerbert shrugged. That's called conversation, Longshanks. Also, not a joke. Nirella adjusted her glasses. Then allow me to improve the conversation. Conrad started to rise. Nirella, too late. She whispered a short phrase, flickering her fingers, and snapped. The air folded, the sound dulled. Gerbert opened his mouth to protest. Nothing came out. His eyes went wide. He slapped his hands over his face. Where his mouth had been is now smooth skin. Urkan froze. Hagrim stared. Even Muriel blinked. Gerber stepped back, clawing at his face, trying to shout. Nothing. Nirella leaned close. Temporary, she said softly. Morning, at the least. Was that necessary, Nirella asked Conrad. Wait, I'm missing a comma here. She straightened. Consider it enforced restraint. Urkan exploded with laughter, chairs tipping backward. Hagrid covered his mouth with his fist, shoulders shaking. Muriel allowed herself the faintest smile. Conrad rubbed his temple. Nirella. He'll survive, she replied calmly. And be quieter. Gerbert crossed his arms furiously, glaring daggers at her. Well, Conrad said after a moment, that settles the group's name. Shortly after, they rented rooms in the inn and slept. In the morning, a few hours after they left forage together, they stopped near a small lake hidden by reeds and trees. We're going to take a bath, Nirella announced, already pulling Myrtle along. She paused, turned back, eyes briefly glowing at Gerbert. If any of you peek, I will make you regret existing. Existing? Yeah, existing. Okay. They vanished into the brush. Gerbert grinned. She has a thing for me. Urkan snorted. She turned you into a thing, you mean? I think a comma should go here. Yeah. She turned you into a thing, you mean? They were checking their gear when someone approached. A cloaked man, exhausted, hollow-eyed. Aaron. He approached Hagrid. I'm looking for an Albin elf, he said. Have you seen one? Hagrid stepped forward. Aye, last night. Aaron surged forward, katana at Hagrid's throat. Where? Talk! Conrad, Gerbert, and Urkan jumped and closed in with raised weapons, circling around Aaron and Hagrid. Surrounded by the group, Aaron regained clarity. Hagrid gently pushed the blade aside with 2 fingers. Aaron sheathed his katana. His voice came low and rough. Apologies. I lost myself for a moment. Hagrid saw sincerity in those hollow eyes. He made a motion with his hand at his comrades to lower their weapons. He was there, in Forage Kristana Inn, Hagrid said quietly. That's all I know. Aaron stared at him, at Conrad, then bowed, deep and unsteady. I apologize again. I'm in your debt. Urkan let him pass only after Conrad nodded his head. He continued toward Forage. Such emptiness, like walking sorrow. One moment fury and another calm. Intriguing man. Hagrid murmured. More like dangerous, Urkan replied. And absolutely insane, Gerbert added. Conrad stared at Aaron walking in the distance. Maybe all of those. A short while later, Nirella and Muriel returned, damp hair catching the light. Did you guys miss us? Nirella said lightly, then saw their faces. What happened? Conrad explained. Muriel's eyes narrowed. Will he be a problem? Urkan turned to Conrad as if asking the same question. Conrad stroked his jaw with one hand. Not for us. I would not want to be that Albin elf, Nirella said quietly. Oh, I agree with you there, sweet stuff, added Gerbert. Conrad adjusted his pack. Irrelevant. We wasted enough time. Let's move. They gathered their things without ceremony. No speeches, no vows. Just the sound of straps tightening, pack settling into shoulders, steel finding familiar place at hips and backs. The road stretched southwards, pale beneath the morning light. Urkan took lead axe resting against his back. Conrad and Hagrim followed beside him, quiet and focused. Mirella moved like a shadow at their flank. Mirel moved like a shadow at their flank. Nirella walked with her staff tapping softly against stone. Gerbert lingered at their rear, muttering to himself, eyes always searching, but sometimes stopping at Nirella. After a long while of silence, Gerbert broke it. Hey, Huggy, referring to Hagrim. I overheard that these guys were talking about a worm that you defeated. Hagrim smirked. I much prefer my own name. Only after Gerbert raised his shoulders apologetically did he continue. Well, lad, you see, it all started when Bogogram came. He told the hour-long tale as they walked towards Morganville. So this is the snake that Hagrim defeated with a few other people. I mean snake. It's more like a mix of a crocodile and a titan boa. But yeah, so those were the 5 stories. If any of them interested you, I guess you will invest time and money to 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 read up on what happens to these people. Thank you for watching, and